McCraw. Hope I say that properly. And she's going to talk about K-State libraries, or I shouldn't say K-State libraries, it's Hale Library. Hale Library and some of the resources available to instructors, and how we can use those in developing our courses or, in teaching. So without further ado, I will give Jenny the microphone.
All right, welcome, librarians and library staff, and everyone who's watching later. I guess I'll include them as well. So what I'm going to do today is talk about a lot of the tools that we have available through K-State libraries for designing courses, supplementing courses, and these can be for online instructors or in-person instructors. I'm going to try to cover a little bit that would be relevant for both. I am Jenny McCraw, I'm the instructional design librarian here. And I'll go ahead and get started. Actually, I have a handout, so if you're here, you have a handout. But all the information on the handout is actually up on our K-State Libraries wiki. So I will show you how to get there. And if you go to Departments and Library Instruction and Faculty and Instructors, I have a link here, Cool Tools for K-State Instructors. And very slowly will hopefully take us to the wiki page. There's been some technical difficulties with the wiki today, so you can go ahead and refer to your handout. That's a really good thing about teaching or doing things that are related to technology. You always have to have a backup. So here's just a list. This is in alphabetical order, not in order of importance or anything, but these are all things that I think are cool tools for K-State instructors. And I'm just going to cover a bunch of them today so that you can see what's available. The first thing I want to show is Ask a Librarian. And we run this through our general reference department here at Hale. We have a bunch of different ways that you can get in touch with librarians here. Different IM clients, you can email us, you can call us, you can visit the Hale Library Help Desk, which is on the second floor. And we also have this Mevo widget here. You can actually type directly into this window and converse with the librarian. I won't demonstrate it because at least 3 of you work on the other end of this, so you probably already know how it happens, because you're going to be on it. Okay. All right. Well, so maybe I am down there at noon and just try to make you answer some really hard questions. So that's Ask a Librarian, and I wanted to show that just because if you don't take anything else away from this, you should take this away, because this is how you can find out the information about everything else that's being covered today. Is everything good?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. But beyond that, I'm just going to go to our homepage, because one of the things I wanted to do in this presentation is to talk a little bit about our digital presence at K-State Libraries. We have lots of books, as you know, and print journals, but we also have a lot of online resources that might not be getting used as much as they could be. So here's our library website, which is just linked from the K-State website. We have over here on the bottom right, Talking in the Library. That's our news and events blog. So when things are going on in the library, we try to post here. When we have new resources available, we try to do that too. We have a speaker coming soon. We want to remind people to watch their stuff and not leave their fancy laptops lying around. We've got a new portrait in the loggia entrance, things like that. That's the kind of stuff we like to post on Talking in the Library. We have Ask a Librarian, which we've covered. Another important thing besides Ask a Librarian that you want to remember is the search our site. You can search the library's website and find pretty much anything that you need. So you don't always have to remember that really long path that I showed you to get to the wiki. You can just search the site to try to find it. 2 of our most important electronic resources are our databases and our e-journals. Our article databases, we have over 100. We have them broken down in several different ways. We have them by name. We have them by subject. And then we have usually a featured database that comes up on this page that rotates. And then we have these first two here, Expanded Academic and ProQuest Research Library. And I usually try to explain it to students like these are the super Target or super Walmart of databases because they have a little bit of everything, but not a lot. So you probably wouldn't go to Walmart to buy a really expensive leather jacket, but you might go to Walmart to buy a jacket. So you can find a little bit of everything, but the depth of coverage it's not very deep, but they're really great. What you'll notice here, right on this page, we have this Powered by Get It icon. That's the next thing I want to talk about. If you click on that, it gives you a little explanation of what Get It is. And we've had Get It for a little over a year. So as it explains here, it's a service that looks and places for full text of an article citation. So if you're using an article database to do some sort of topic search and you find an article you want that doesn't have a full text link, you can click on Get It to search our other full text content to find that article. And this is really, really useful, and it eliminates a lot of nasty searching steps that you used to have to do before we had this. So just look for the Power Cat that says Get It. Another thing that we have here on this page that is really useful, especially for faculty and graduate students who are doing a lot of research, or even really for undergrads, anybody can use the citation linker. This works with Get It, and if you know a citation, so if you have something on your syllabus even, and you want to find out if we have the full text of that article, you can type in the citation, click Get It. I don't have one prepared, but you could click Get It, and I'm sure it'll say, we don't have that blank article that you didn't enter. But you can see here what it would look like. It'll try to find it online first. If we have it online, it'll have links to what databases have the full text. If we don't have it online, you can search the catalog seamlessly from this page. And if we don't have it in either place, like where it says no K-State copy available, you can request an interlibrary loan. So this is the Iliad page. This is the portal to get into interlibrary services at K-State libraries. That's another thing I want to talk about. But what I'll do is actually go to the K-State homepage, or K-State Libraries homepage, excuse me. And where it says request an interlibrary loan, that's where you get to Iliad. But if we go through, I'll demonstrate our search. Interlibrary Services is the department in Hale that manages Iliad and manages all our dealings with other libraries. So their departmental page has a lot of really helpful information for our users, for other libraries that are interested in getting our materials. It's some really interesting things that we have here. There's information for remote users, which if you're teaching an online course or a distance or continuing ed course could be really helpful for you to send your students to this page to find out what's available for them. And there really are a lot of pretty impressive services available for them through interlibrary services. If you happen to be a traveling faculty member of K-State, we also have some services that are available for you. And those are just sort of the special services. Faculty can also request document delivery of, I believe, up to 50 pages. And that doesn't have to be an item from another library. It can be something that we have here in Hale or in one of the branch libraries. We just want to do everything we can to keep people up on their research and teaching. So we'll do the document delivery through interlibrary services. And again, anyone can use the Iliad page that we looked at to request an interlibrary loan, anyone associated with K-State, students, faculty, staff. So that's interlibrary services. And there was our citation linker. The next thing I want to show you, got a little preview of there, is custom feeds. If you Google custom feeds in our site, let's see. One of the links there was for our new books RSS feeds, and this is something we've implemented pretty recently and we're really excited about. We have the new feeds broken down by subject. So if you are in the chemistry department and you want to know what one book we got this week that's relevant for you and your research, or let's see, if you're in literature, here's some of the things that came out in literature this week. So it's just an easy way to keep up with what's going on, what we're getting in. And you'll notice over here, we have different things broken down by medium or location. So you can see what new CDs, DVDs we get. If you're in education, what new curriculum materials we got for that collection, what we got in reference, what new online resources we have. This can be really useful. And all of these, you'll see there's a little subscribe link right next to them. You can actually subscribe and get those sent to you. We also have a link up here, request a custom feed with just the subjects you want. You can put in your name and your email address, and you can tell us what you're interested in. You can use, there's a link here for the Library of Congress classes. If you happen to know what Library of Congress class numbers you usually research in. Or if you just want to say, like it says here, if LC is Greek to you, just describe what you want and we'll do our best to express it in LC. So if you say, I'm really interested in Victorian literature, but I don't happen to know the LC call numbers, you can write in Victorian literature. And we will create a custom feed for you. So I had one created for me yesterday. And I tried to make it pretty broad, so there are lots of different things I'm interested in. Some of them are film, and some of them are Victorian literature. Some are cooking, and I also have also requested North Carolina history as one of my LC areas, but we actually didn't happen to get anything in North Carolina history this week. But this is just really cool. It doesn't matter. I don't have to limit myself to one subject. It's all the things I'm interested in, and it's customized for me. And this is great for researchers because you're going to research in a lot of different areas. You can get really specific. You might say, I am interested in this particular author. You can find out what their LC area is. This could also be really useful for a course. You could subscribe to it for your course if you're teaching some sort of special topic and you want your students also to be aware with what's coming out in that area in terms of the scholarly books that we're getting here at K-State Libraries. I could subscribe to this feed, I could put it in my feed reader, and it would come out just like all the blog posts and everything else that I might be reading. So that's custom feeds. Let's see. The next thing is actually probably the first thing that you would want to do, and that's look for our LibX toolbar. Does anybody in here have the LibX toolbar installed? All right, a couple people. I'm not going to tell Dale that 2 of you didn't raise your hands. We have this toolbar, and this gives you information on how to install it. It's a Firefox extension, although they have actually now created an IE extension as well. So if you're an Internet Explorer user, you can get it. I'm going to go ahead and do the installation so we can see how this works because it's really cool. And it explains you need to go in and you need to allow this, and then let's try to install it again. I'm going to restart Firefox so we can see what it looks like. And now we have this extra toolbar here, Libraries toolbar. What shows up immediately is you can do a title search from the K-State Libraries catalog right here on your toolbar. So if I am really interested in Harry Potter, I can do a search right there, and it'll bring up the catalog in a new tab. What's also really great about this is let's go to Amazon. And I can do my same search for Harry Potter in Amazon. And so maybe I want this, but I don't really feel like spending $20 on it. I can click the Power Cat that now shows up in Amazon and see if we happen to own it so that I don't have to spend my hard-earned money. So this could be really, really helpful if you're just interested in browsing. It doesn't just work with Amazon. Actually, I'll give you an example we learned about the other day that's pretty funny. We had a librarian who was looking at information on K-State in Wikipedia, and she noticed that when she got down to the references, that the Get It button actually shows up in Wikipedia now if it can read the citation. So you can click Get It. And we can see, hey, we actually have that little, what is it, some sort of report or record that was cited in Wikipedia about K-State's history. So that can be a fun party trick. Notice here we used Get It. This is what the Get It menu would look like if you used it from a database. And we have apparently, since I last looked at it, added a bunch of fancy stuff. So in addition to searching online, searching in print, finding an interlibrary loan, you can now save your citation to RefWorks or format it for another reference management software. You can also immediately go to Ask a Librarian, and you can search Google Books full text. So we have all of these different options that will come up on our Get It menu. And Get It is something that's still new enough that a lot of faculty aren't using it as much or aren't as familiar with it as they might be. Like a lot of the newer faculty hear about it at new faculty orientation and things like that, but it's a pretty new service, so we want to get everybody using it if we can. While we're looking at that, I'll go ahead and go to RefWorks. Let me show you where that is on the library's homepage. We have a link to RefWorks, Cite Your Sources. And if you don't already use RefWorks, I would highly recommend getting an account because it's really, really helpful. I'll go ahead and log in. And so it tells you a little bit about it here. It's your online personal database and bibliography creator. So you can save yourself a lot of time. So this is just an account we have for the library, and we just put stuff in here. But I just want to show you a little bit about the interface. You can import a lot of citations from a lot of different databases that we have. The information for each one is a little different, and the process is a little different, so it takes some tweaking and probably asking a librarian to figure out how you might get your citations from PubMed, for instance, in here to RefWorks. But once you have them, it's really easy to create a bibliography. One of the tools I really like from RefWorks is Write and Cite under Tools. And you can actually download Write and Cite. There's a Windows version and a Mac version. I'll go ahead and try downloading the Windows and see what we can do. Okay, so now we're ready for Write and Cite. And whenever Write and Cite comes up, it should take just a second. So Write and Cite works with Word. And so let me just start a little Word document here. And if I want to use Write and Cite, let me add some buttons. Okay, so it'll stay on, if I want it to stay on top here. And then I can log into my account. And I have access to all my stuff. If if I want to cite something right here before the period, click Cite. And it puts it in there in a really weird looking format. You'll notice this is not actually a real citation, so maybe I'll do something else. You can do more than one. So you put in your citations, you just keep writing your paper or your article or whatever it is that you're working on. You keep adding your citations, and in the end, Jason, help me here. Now I'm blanking. What happens next?
Now you have to
Save, right, okay, so you just save, okay. So let's save it. The one thing about keeping right and side on top is that you have to move everything else around. There we go. I'm going to save this to the desktop. Here. Oh yes, so I can create a bibliography. There are some of the most commonly used are here, APA, you'll see Chicago, MLA. You can also access the Output Style Manager because there are, 100,000 special journal citation styles that people might be using, but I'm going to go ahead and put this in APA. And so it puts in it fixes my citation. Well, the way that Sarah Kearns, who's our RefWorks guru, always says is it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you put in a garbage citation, it's not going to know how to fix it for you. But if you have a good citation in RefWorks, this, as you can see, could save you hours and hours of time. Think about your dissertation or your master's thesis that you wrote and how long you spent putting the references in at the end. So RefWorks is really cool, and Write and Cite is one of the best ways to use it, I think. But I'll get out of that. Let's go back just to regular RefWorks. Another tool that we have is sharing references. You can do this with RefShare. I could share the entire database here. I could share this folder on attack cows. And it'll allow me to set up some preferences here, and I can say attack cows bibliography as my title. I could include it in the Kansas State University shared area, and I save it here. And this is my bibliography, and I can put this on my K-State Online page for all my students to look at. I can put it up really anywhere that people who have access to RefWorks can get into it. K-State Online, they don't have to be logged into RefWorks to see it, but if they are, I think they can actually pull some of the citations into their own account. One of the really cool things about this is that we have the Get It button right here, and it automatically does that when you're on campus. It'll have the Get It, so because it can read those references. So this is a good way. A lot of professors use e-reserves. That was something else that I was going to talk about. This is sort of an alternative to e-reserves, like if you just want to put up a quick bibliography for all your students to look at. Your students, if they have RefWorks accounts, can also share bibliographies with you. So if they're working on a paper and maybe they have to submit a draft bibliography, that might be a great way to do it because you can easily access the articles that they're looking at and the information that they're pulling their citations from. Let me show you. The other option for that kind of thing would be e-reserves and from departments, reserve desk, and then there's e-reserves. So basically e-reserves will work with you. There's their phone number up there. You can find it on the website really easily. One of our e-reserve staff members will work with you to put items that you want to place on reserve that you have an electronic copy of up in K-State Online, and this allows you to avoid a lot of copyright issues. And Felisa, who does all of this and works here in Hale, is really good about copyright. She knows a lot of information about copyright, which can be really confusing for many of us. So you could work with them if you're not comfortable doing the RefShare, or if it's a different kind of situation, it's a document you actually have, and you want to put up in this closed environment of K-State Online, you can work with the eReserve staff to do so. And that's something that I think we're seeing people increasingly take advantage of now that we have more and more content online. One of the things that you can do if you want to put things on eReserve, you probably want to know about our scanners here in Hale. So if you have some things that you actually want to scan in for yourself or possibly for putting on reserve, we have scanners on the first, second, and third floor that are that belong to Hale Library, and they're stand-up scanners that scan from above, so there's no damage to your materials. They're really easy, and all you have to do is have a flash drive or send it to yourself via email. The Media Development Center in 213 Hale also has scanners, but they don't have the same standing scanner setup. Let's see. While we're talking about K-State Online, I'll go ahead and log into that. Let's see. So every student at K-State has access to research help at K-State libraries, whether they like it or not. We get a lot of questions at the beginning of this semester. Why do I have this? I'm not paying for this. What is this? And we have here a lot of the same content. So like I said earlier, this is supposed to be about our digital presence, and our main digital presence is our library's website, lib.ksu.edu. But we also have this sort of alternative digital presence in the course management system, K-State Online. So it's really easy if you have content for your course in K-State Online to kind of go back and forth between the resources that we have here and the resources we'll be adding and your own course materials. So there's a link down here actually where it says reading list. So there's another example of a ref share and how it could work in K-State Online. So this one's about pirates. We have a link here we keep announcements and we try to keep them up to date when we create new materials or new resources. So we have some links here to some citation tutorials that I created. This one I created for expository writing. We did some instruction for them. And if you go in, it's just about why we cite things. But if you have a newspaper article and you want to cite it, you can find the format of a citation and also information about how, like, has to be enclosed in quotation marks, this has to be underlined, the date needs to be in this format, things like that. But that's just one example of a tool that we've created for a specific class, and we weren't actually asked to do that, but we saw a need. Now, if you have a course where you see a need for something like that, please ask us to create it for you, because I personally would be more than happy to work on something that would be benefiting students in your courses. That we have the same thing for how to cite an APA. Now these are sort of the beginnings of what's going to be an entire online learning program at K-State Libraries, and we're developing that right now. We're in the early planning stages of that, and a lot of that's going to be here in K-State Online, but it's also going to be duplicated on the library's website so that it's not just in a closed password protected environment, so that everyone can have access to it who's using our library. And one of the things that I was hoping to do today was to talk to some instructors about what needs they saw from their students. And you guys work with a lot of students, so I'm sure you can help me with that too. So all of that information will be under our content, but right now we have a couple of tutorials up here. Then we also have the links, so if you link to expository writing, this was another course-specific thing that we did. So here's a PowerPoint for them and how to do their library research, and then a link to that citing an MLA tutorial that we just saw. There is also a link down here to another tool I want to bring up, and that's the assignment planner. If you click try the assignment planner, it actually opens up in K-State Online, which I don't like because you can't see the whole thing, and it's pretty. So let's open it in a new window. So this is the assignment planner. It's constantly in development. We moved it this summer from beta to just beta, but we still need feedback and we still need lots and lots of help with this. But essentially the way it would work, and we think this is a really good tool for students, is if you have an assignment that is due on December 1st and you want to start it today, you can get yourself a little assignment schedule. And what's nice about it is it's not just a schedule, it's really breaking down the research process for students. And a lot of students, especially freshmen or people who haven't spent a lot of time in research-intensive courses, find just the process difficult to wrap their heads around. So this can be an easy way. It's just broken down. And also we like the planner metaphor because we see a lot of students here at K-State with their planners all the time, writing things down, keeping track of things that way. So it breaks down the research process and it has links. Some of them are content that we created, a lot of them are not. But this area in here, finding resources, this is going to be part of the online learning program that I just mentioned. We're going to be updating this information and changing things around a little bit, the way that we help students find resources, or help users in general find resources, really. But this is especially for undergrads, and it's written, the language is a little bit more about writing a paper than doing another kind of research project, but it could be used for really anything. And at the end, you get to bake a cake. And I think that's appealing to everybody. And this even, I haven't actually made this cake, but it's pretty cool. It's got coffee in it, so I think it'd probably be pretty good. And that's what it looks like. Okay. The nice thing about this, when I was an undergrad, just a couple of years ago even, I would have loved something like this, but I probably would have looked at it and said super, printed it out and lost it. But what we've done to make it a little bit easier for people to use is allow you to submit for email reminders. So I can put in a name, I can put in my email address and then a name for my assignment. So if I'm writing a paper for XPOS, I can put in XPOS paper. And I can submit that. And then on any date that you see here where something needs to be done, I'll get an email on Tuesday and say it's time to start looking for resources. And then I'll get an email on, well, the timing on this one is pretty short, so I'll be getting emails like almost every day reminding me to do things. But we know that's the way a lot of students work. So one of the links that we have on here, and that's one of the next things I want to talk about, is to subject librarians. We have a couple of subject librarians here in the room, so shout out to them. Subject librarians here at K-State Libraries are doing all kinds of fantastic and wonderful things online and in the classroom. I do want to stress, if you're not just teaching an online course, if you're teaching a hybrid course or just a face-to-face course, bring in your subject librarian or bring your class to the library for an instruction session, because it'll be really valuable in terms of research. I want to point out here that it breaks things down by subject areas. So it'll tell you what your subject librarian's name is, how to get in touch with them. And we also have subject guides, and these can be really customizable. One that I want to show you is for kinesiology. Tara Coleman, whose lovely picture is shown here, has worked really hard to develop a relationship with the kinesiology department and find out what kinds of things their students need. And she's also done a lot of experimentation on her subject guides, and she's come up with a lot of cool stuff. So I want to show you this. So one of the most important things, and what probably stands out when you open this, is that she has a little Meebo widget that looks kind of like our Ask a Librarian widget, and it says kinesiology help. And she's online. So if I'm a student in kinesiology and I really need help with my paper, I can talk to her right here. A lot of our subject librarians have added this widget to their pages. I know that Regina and Marcia, you guys both have it on yours, right? So your students You have feeds on yours. There's so many Web 2.0 librarians here, it's hard to keep up with who's doing what. So you can get in touch with Tara right here and say, hey Tara, I really, really need your help with my kinesiology paper. Some other cool stuff that she has that are pretty unique. She has this health and medicine search engine. She created this customized search engine using Google Co-op, I believe, is the service. Does that sound right to people? Okay, sure. Thank you, Jason. Google Co-op. And what she has done is she has said, yeah, I want students who are using my site to be able to search Google, but I only want them to use the Center for Disease Control, PubMed, USDA, and the National Institute of Medicine. She wants them to get these credible, vetted resources only, but they still get that sense of like, I'm searching the internet and it's not hard, which I think is really useful, and anybody could do this. It doesn't have to be a librarian. Professors could clearly do this and make it really useful for their classes. She's also got some headlines. These are just pulled from Medline Plus. These are things that are, are related to health and medicine. She has a link to the new books feed for kinesiology. We saw the feeds earlier, so if her users are interested in those. And then some of the more basic stuff that you find on subject guides, you'll want to know what databases you can get to that are relevant for your area. You want to know what websites, what call number areas. So that's one example of a subject guide that does lots of different things. Let me go to another one. Ellen Urton, who is our visual arts librarian, has done some really interesting stuff. Now, since the information that we're going over today is on the wiki, you have already know that we do have a wiki for K-State libraries. It's mostly right now just things that are going to be interesting to us as staff members of the library, how things work, what the guidelines are, who does what. But we're increasingly putting information on there that the public might want to see. And Ellen, this is a really good example. So when we need to create a subject guide or a course guide, which we're doing more and more often, to make it and put it up on the library's website is a process that could take a few hours. It could take a day. So you have to, find a computer with Dreamweaver and you have to update the things that you have. You have to ask someone to put it to the server for you if you don't have access. So it can take a little while. And what's really nice and flexible about the wiki is that if this professor happened to call Ellen 15 minutes before class and say, can you add this one link to the subject guide? That might not happen if we had to go through the whole process of updating the subject guide. So she's put a lot of her content up here on the wiki so that she can just get into it and change it and make it available, and she can be working on it all the time. So this has a lot of good stuff. She's got quite a few pages that are up on the wiki. I have actually only a couple more things that I wanted to share today. One of them is we've talked about Get It, and now that we've looked at the website a lot more, you've seen how Get It can be integrated, where it is in the site, and how easy it is to find. One thing that we like a lot about Get It is that if you happen to be a Google Scholar user, you can set up your Google Scholar preferences. So they have library links. This one automatically, since we're here, has already been set to do Kansas State University. But if we get rid of that and save it, and then we change our preferences again, we can just search Kansas State in the library links box. It'll find the library, and it runs it through Get It. So I can say, all right, and now I'm ready to search. I'm just going to stick with Harry Potter because it hasn't messed up yet. So you'll notice you're looking at different, oh, this is really interesting. There are actual researchers named Harry Potter. I never would have thought. You can find these articles. If we have it, it's just, again, it's a seamless process. Now I can say, it's searching books as well, as you can see. I can click the Get It there, and that same menu comes up. So let's see if we have a print copy. Obviously, we don't have it online. And there it is. And it tells me, oh, it's missing, sadly. But it was in the juvenile literature collection up in 309 Hale. So in the library science literature, we talk a lot about embedded librarianship and embedding ourselves as librarians into courses and into departments and into programs. But what I think K-State Libraries is doing really well right now is being an embedded library, period. And sort of trying to put ourselves out there, especially with things like the LibX toolbar, where Get It is showing up in Wikipedia when you're looking at articles there, or it's showing up in Google Scholar after you cite your preferences. We're just trying to be there all the time so that we can make it easier for our users to do things. And one last thing, actually two more things. These are not library-specific resources. So I'm going to go to the K-State homepage. And this is sort of speaking to the point of seamlessness. If you search VPN client, it's the top link. And this is how you can install the Cisco Virtual Private Network on your computer. They have set up instructions for Windows, Linux, and Mac. And if you download this on your home computer, for instance, and you sign into the VPN client before you're about to do a bunch of research, and this is really good for students, especially because it can get really annoying. If you're using our databases off campus, you will be asked to log in. We want to verify that it's being used by someone with an EID. But if you log in to the VPN client, you don't have to worry about that. It knows who you are. You're already signed in. And it's, again, a more seamless experience when you're trying to do your research with our electronic resources. And then the final thing, and there's a link to this on the handout and on the wiki, is I'm going to Google it because I don't know the Center for Research Libraries, which is a consortium of North American universities, colleges, etc. And what they're doing is they're making it really easy for member institutions, and we are a member institution here at K-State, to provide digital and print materials that have been digitized to users from those member institutions through interlibrary loan. And if you look at the membership, the member list, we're in really good company being a member here. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of universities. We're down here in the Ks, along with KU. But you'll see there are a lot of our Big 12 colleagues, and then there are just research libraries from all over the country and from Canada as well. So this is something that you have access to that is especially for researching faculty. It's going to be really useful. And that is all I have. Yes?
How do you use this?
You can, yeah, actually that would probably, let's see. They have an about. You can search their catalog. And have you guys used this? Have you ever used it a little bit? Yeah, okay, like it has it broken down into collections.
So like foreign dissertations are in various languages, or is it all English?
It looks like, well, if they have Russian dissertation abstracts, I'm thinking it's probably in all different languages. So this is something I just learned about, so I think it's pretty exciting. I haven't used it yet. Anybody else have questions?
The VPN.
Yes.
If I log into that, do I have to log into that every time?
Oh, like when you're working at home and okay, yes. You would, for every sort of session that you're going to be sitting down doing your stuff, that you'll want to log into it. you guys have anything to add, since you're also ambassadors of K-State Libraries? Well, I'm really excited about having a lot more online content, and that's something that we're hoping, especially with K-State Online, to be able to really integrate into courses, so that if we have a little guide, like even with the things that we have now, like the MLA citation guide, that's just a link, and it would be really easy for instructors to pop that link into their K-State Online course and say, go look at this, if they wanted to. And we're hoping to really build up a series of modules that can do a lot of things and go over a lot of the major questions that especially are